Hey everybody, this is Mike with the Pick Six, bringing you the very first From Blueprints to Bleachers,
where me, a project engineer, grades stadiums based on quantitative construction stuff. Starting with FBS conferences and moving on to every single football conference with a functional stadium. First off, I need to explain the rating system we're going to be going by to create the most fair breakdown for all teams and schools involved. First off, we have architectural appeal. While this is going to be opinionated, I'm going to be first trying to identify which of the three main stadium types, if I can tell, or variations of the such, while pointing out oddities in it that make them unique, that resemble what that team really is about in that architecture. I'll then be going over any remodeling history that I can find, as well as highlighting areas to improve or the feasibility to do with retrofitting and modern day add-ons, or if you're going to just have to bulldoze the whole thing and start over if you really want to get some improvement. Second, we have capacity and how it gets that capacity. I'm going to be giving bonus points here for creativity in order to go to a high capacity or the ability to look good in any crowd. Third, we have fan appeal. This is going to be a combination of average fan attendance against the capacity, as well as just the general student appearance or attention at your average game. Fourth, we have modern day amenities. Nothing hurts the fan experience more than not getting with the times. The ability to have the day's finest to offer attractions and comforts while watching the game in person is one of the main tools teams have to get fans off their couch and in the seats, because if not, why bother? You got a 72-inch screen and AC. And starting with the lovely Elliott T. Bowers Stadium, the man who didn't even want to be named after a stadium. For Sam Houston State University, located in Huntsville, Texas. The stadium was built in 1985. Let us delve into the newly acquainted member of Conference USA. All right, Sam Houston State. Architecturally, there is absolutely nothing wrong with the orientation of SHSU's stadium. They actually have a good amount of qualities we're going to see from teams in the conference that were constructed around the same era. The problem lies in SHSU's complacency with such a design, to the point that almost no modern retrofitting has been done with the success of this team. It is something to do with them recently breaking out of their habit of dominating 99.99% of the FCS level of football for years and moving on to the FBS situation to be compared to bigger competition. But other schools making the jump have certainly prepared themselves better than this school. Sam Houston has a typical horseshoe design, with the field house at one end and the entrance to the field at the other end, facing the field house. There is also another alumni entrance right by the field house that you can use to get to the other opposite side of seating. That's not often used by most people, but it is possible. It's at the top of the hill. The stadium seating matches the track and field, and the color of the brick of the field house definitely highlights the beautiful Bearcat orange that we all know and love. For a multi-purpose field, they do a good job of setting the football action into your vision and not really being able to see the track and having that come into play. We're going to go ahead and give them a C. They can improve, but there's nothing wrong with what they have. It really is outdated. For capacity, this stadium is the bottom of the barrel for the conference, taking the crown from Western Kentucky now with 14,000 seats. The addition of stadium pull-down seating in the home section in 2014 was a very much needed and appreciated addition. They do not have seating on either end, but the parking lot entrance has grass below where the students can sit and most Greek life will gather when they make it in. I'm going to have to give them a D- on the fact that there is a lot of areas where they could be adding seating or could be upgrading seating or could be adding suites or any of the sort, and nothing of that has been done. I understand this program has just been added, but we really have to start preparing to ramp up instead of just getting there and figuring it out. All right, for fan appeal, Sam Houston State University does not have a lot of data usable for this conference, but they have always had a hard time retaining a high amount of fans past 50%, as they are normally beating the daylights out of whoever they are playing, or within this recent year, they're going to be having higher competition and struggling to adapt, not being as dominant as before, so a lot of those fans that would have gone to games are, a little bit thrown off. All I know from attending is that they have some amazing traditions and catchphrases that their announcers and other fans programs like the Cat Crazies use, but there is not much else keeping the fans around. The stadium is utilized by the local high school and looks that way. There is a limited areas to congregate and barely any space to do anything but watch what's in front of you. And when the score is lopsided, you'd rather do that at home. The entrance gates can barely handle a line for the size of the stadium, and there is much to be improved on. We're going to go ahead and have to give this a D for fan appeal, especially with the fact that they have not cracked over a 50% attendance in so long. All right, and for modern amenities, the turf on this field has not been upgraded since 2007, and that could be something to do with the fact that so many different remediations have been proposed that they're waiting for the big one to happen that's going to gut the stadium and bring it to the next level. But that has not happened yet, and we need to start chipping away at these things, like mentioned before with a lot of these other categories. The screen is probably the best thing added in recent memory. One thing that I believe is a giant cardinal sin that we have just touched on is the concessions are in broad daylight, and the lines will block your ability to get to your seating and navigate the rest of the stadium as well, due to the fact that the lines are encroached very close to the beginning of the bleacher seating on both ends. Bathrooms are rough, and the walkways need overall improvement from wear and tear. Field house sure is nice to look at and take you back to an era from the time from before, which is quite the nostalgia bringer for me, and I'm sure other alumni. But in order to move into the new age, we have to find a way to incorporate the old with the new, because a lot of this stuff is really affecting the fan experience. Ending this rating with a D+ for Sam Houston, and equaling out at the end to a D+ overall for Elliott T. Bowers Stadium. A lot of room for improvement again. These guys just bounced up recently, but we need to see something, because more of the same is not going to cut it at this next level of play.
And without further ado, let's get on over to FIU.
Architecturally, Florida International University Stadium is an open stadium with enclosed bleacher sides. This is a common remodel technique used by schools moving up the division standings in sports. The sides that used to be open are now enclosed to bring in more seating as the school begins to lean more towards football. They're bleachers. It's nothing great, nothing fantastic. It's a giant box, to be honest, big old square. Architecturally, it kind of reminds me of a quick thrown together high school stadium. These guys are definitely working on it, and there's not much to see here. We're going to be giving them a D+ here. Capacity-wise, Florida International University does not exactly have impressive bleacher seating or an impressive way to get it. Like we saw earlier with the architecture, it is in a square. They have 20,000, so that does not put them at the back end of the conference any longer with Sam Houston joining. That's about all we can say for them as far as this category goes. It is the least unique out of anything I've ever seen. 20,000 seats, though, so they do get a little bit of credit for that. Looks like a thrown-together high school stadium or an outdoor hockey stadium. For fan appeal, they have nothing unique or crazy here as far as fans being around or keeping people interested, meaning just like with a lot of stadiums here, they are heavily team success dependent. Not a whole lot of tradition. Lack of winning makes that suffer. They've been able to make some of the necessary NCAA averages this last year, which means things are looking up, especially compared to others. But some traditions in entertainment would go a long way in establishing a consistent culture. The way the stadium is built does not allow for creative ways in showing it off in low times either, so that normally leads to a lot of close-ups of the field. The way the stadium is built, so I have to give this a D+. One of the things that we have to note here is the fact that they have been on notice from the league a good amount of times for attendance. And last, we have modern amenities. The stadium has inner bathrooms and concessions under the main seating as well as the field house. This allows temperatures to keep down and the ability to have more conditioned space there as well. They also have suite boxes and club areas inside as well. As far as the field goes, they have state-of-the-art turf system that most NFL stadiums use as of 2017, so one of the more updated in this category. I'd give this a typical C, nothing hurting you, but as bare bones a remodel as you can get. And that sums up Ricardo Silva Stadium with a D+ overall as well. They are a recently started football program and have a lot of room for improvement. Nothing to be ashamed of here, but there is always work forward, and there is a lot of options for Florida International University.
And now we move on to the Aggie Memorial Stadium, located in University Park, New Mexico, and built in 1978.
Architecture. The Aggie Memorial Stadium has a unique feature from all the other stadiums, with it being built into a hillside. This allows for a very awesome panoramic drone view of the stadium, as well as giving you the feeling that you're walking down into the Aggie territory. The bleachers are laid out in a very visitor side and home side manner like usual, but with a circular pyramid shape at the top for a better reveal to the hillside. The edges of the field have a field house and the entrance across from that, with a fair amount of local vegetation being incorporated into the area, incorporating the elements into the design for a nice home feel of the stadium. Another perk of this is the stadium can be lit by outer pole lights faced into a smaller area circled than some of its rectangular counterparts as well. So we're going to be giving this a B-.
Capacity-wise,
New Mexico State actually has a unique situation, with their stadium actually having gone down in capacity since their remodel in 2015, going from 30,343 seats to 28,853 seats, as they added 92 club seats, which ups the quality of the stadium a bit in my eyes. As you know, we hate seeing a sea of bleachers just like your numb butts do in the third quarter. The way the seats are oriented with the circular curve tapers off the look of an 80% crowd, making it look better on average, but definitely limiting what you can do with the structure as far as retrofitting more on the area later on. You would have to probably build a good amount of select fill-up on the sides. We're going to be giving them a B- for this.
on to fan approval.
As far as fan appeal goes, New Mexico struggles with a lot of the same things teams do in college, and that is keeping the attention of the team during an easily scheduled. This is not a whole lot of areas for fan interaction aside from the bleachers, and I guess what you could say the club seats. Field is for game use only, and the accessibility is minimal, as it's off to the side of the campus and city, making the football the only reason you're going to be going there. I'm going to have to rate this a D. This supersized SHSU copy as far as this category is concerned, and they really do struggle keeping that 50% retention rating as far as capacity goes.
Concluding with modern amenities.
As far as modern amenity goes, the Aggies commit one of my least favorite cardinal sins in this category, which brings them down significantly. My biggest pet peeve, as you already know, is the fact that concession lines in stadiums, especially ones that average a temperature in the 90s during the football season, should not have uncovered lines. This is literally no solace zone from the sun for your fans unless the clouds come. There is literally no solace from the sun for any of your fans unless the clouds come. There is literally no solace from the sun for any of your fans. Unless the clouds come, they lock themselves in a bathroom stall or they go home, leading to a dropping retention rating that has nothing to do with performance of the team. A 28,000 seat stadium with no effort to help this matter seems pretty archaic. As far as the turf is concerned, it's been upgraded pretty recently as of 2014, and the screen is relatively new. The bridge added in 2006 to cross from one side to the other also bumps this rating up. We're going to be giving these boys a D+.
Overall, we're going to see it coming in as a C for the Aggie Memorial Stadium. I would still go definitely see a game there for all the niche features it has architecturally, but as far as an everyday, if you live in the city, I feel like this is a C grade in the conference every day. Leaving New Mexico and going on to the Munns Free Borough area of Tennessee to the Floyd Stadium, built in 1933.
All right, Middle Tennessee University. Now, this is a classic design for a stadium done right, utilizing the proper upper landings for concessions and personal viewing on the way to seats below for smaller edges and higher arcing staircases to the upper bleacher seating. This allows for the small ball field just on a greater scale. I will say that having bleacher seating in front of your only screen is poor planning, but having the field house on the corner is a strategic way of adding view without encroaching on the stadium site profile. So those kind of cancel out in my mind. We're going to go ahead and give them a B- for the architecture because I really enjoy this old school concept done to the best of their ability. I know they are going to be remodeling. They're going to be incorporating this same design but offering a good amount of modern amenities. It's a good sign and showing of how you can retrofit a stadium like this and bring it to the modern age.
We're going to be giving this a B- for architecture and moving on to capacity.
For capacity, Middle Tennessee just loses out on being top rated in capacity due to the 16,000 seat discrepancy between them and UTEP. But we have got to give them a good rating because, I mean, just look at it. They have 30,000 seats with a majority of them unfortunately being bleachers. But the way they orientated the stadium, they have the option to banner off the seats in a way that makes it very TV and in-person presentable. I'm reminded of a stadium like Rice University that can house the whole school if need be, not literally, but but has drawback plans because they're very aware that 30,000 people every time is not always possible unless you're having a lot of success, which neither of those teams that I just mentioned's football programs are the key to their success, I will just yet.
So we are going to be giving them an A- for capacity, and let's move on to fan appeal.
For fan appeal, on opening day, they have around 70% capacity, which drops to just below 30% halfway through the year and does not recover regardless of team record in the past 5 years. This right here is a key indicator that the stadium is struggling to keep patrons coming in, which is interesting because they do a good job. I feel like a lot of these retention questions are going to be addressed once this remodel comes to full fruition. It's going to be a 5 to 10 year remodel on Middle Tennessee, and it's going to be a slow burn. But if you look at the video and their intention, I believe it's going to address all of the problems that we see as far as creature comforts in the new age. The big emphasis is going to be on creating that culture around football. So again, we're going to have to give this bad boy a D. As far as modern amenities go, there is a decent mixture of concessions under the shade and outside of the shade, and a good amount of standing room, which incorporates a good amount of things for the audience. I would say that an eighth of the stadium having to turn towards the screen to see any kind of highlight or score is not very submersive into the experience, and the upper decks being left to the elements could be awful in the hot weeks of the season. I would say the cardinal sin of having your concessions leak in the landing between the bleachers is just annoying for people navigating the stadium and waiting in line alike. So we're going to go ahead and have to give this one a D again as well. These guys do a good job, but fail to execute all the way, I feel like, as far as modern amenities go. And the fact that the turf on the field hasn't been updated in the same duration as Sam Houston also is very telling. So overall, we're going to be giving Middle Tennessee Floyd Stadium a C. The average stadium, I feel like, as far as you could look for in a conference like this. If you're going to be jumping to this conference, I think the standard should kind of be set, wink, wink, at kind of aiming towards this. So if you're a school coming into Conference USA, I would use this as your floor.
We're going to be moving on from Middle Tennessee on to the beautiful area of Bowling Green, Kentucky, to the Hutchinson Industries L.T. Smith Stadium, built in 1968. Let's get to it. Western Kentucky University is one of the schools where the outside of the stadium itself just immediately reminds me of what school I'm looking at. The outside has a bunch of red accents followed up by banners of past teams, and the staircases and ramps have flair and color going up and down them throughout. It's detailed but short and sweet for this stadium, having a lot of the intermingling colors be kind of the story for the whole thing. It's a little bit more of a classic stadium as far as the double-sided Decker Stadium with a lot of renovation. And that is why we are going to be giving Western Kentucky a C+. For capacity, the upper pull-down stadium seating is music to my eyes, as I think it is the perfect seating to have in a stadium, especially on the home side of Upper Deck, where you are going to have a lot of families prioritize those seats, as they want to be at the game, but not always in the fray with the older and younger crowds that are a lot louder and more rowdy. It is the second smallest stadium to only that of the recent addition of SHSU, so they will most likely need to improve on this with years coming, ideally in the same nature that they have, which is skipping the bleachers and going right to upgraded pull-down seating or possibly a little bit of suites. So we're going to be giving Western Kentucky a C+ in this category, doing best with what they got. All right, and for fan appeal, I believe we have coming in second or third for the conference. Western Kentucky fares well here. And I am not sure if it's because they have a small capacity or not, but other schools with small capacities aren't as successful, so I really think it's just the school doing the things right. They have 80% attendance and only drop from that during blowout games where they had at least 50% plus capacity, and then it kind of tapers off after that. It's a very close-knit stadium with several seat upgrades in areas and upper-lower decks, depending on how much you want to interact with patrons in the stadium, giving it a very harmonious mix of fans of all ages. So we're going to be giving them a B for this rating. Closing out with modern amenities, there's a good amount of shaded areas, but still some areas where you are stuck outside on a landing. I would say the way the stadium is oriented now, you do not need a screen, but turning around and looking at the highlights, it seems a bit Bush League when you are as successful as this program has been in recent memory. The upgrade of turf to field turf in 2009 shows they're keeping up with the times, but again, with the success these folks have, I wish they'd reinvest not out of necessity, but out of habit. The shade of concessions is nice, but you can tell from pictures that it is not enough room to fully serve a full 24,000 patron stadium, so if the capacity is high, the wait's high. So to close out, we'll be giving modern amenities a B, which leads us to having an overall grade for this stadium as a B-. Houchins Industries LT Smith Stadium getting a B-, I believe, is a fair grade for a basic stadium with very well done amenities and fan appeal. And now we are headed to one of my personal favorites, which is Williams Stadium, located in Lynchburg, Virginia, and built in 1985. Liberty has a horseshoe stadium, with the inner part of the horseshoe being dedicated to an oval-shaped edge form with assorted levels of ledges as well, that patrons and students alike can sit on, allowing for more lounge picnic style approach to watching the game. They have a double-deck bleachers on each side, with one middle section of pull-down stadium seating. It's a very basic but intuitive design to allow for the maximum amount of interactive seating possible that I really appreciate here from Liberty. It's a big reason why their stadium is going to be getting an A as far as architecture goes, because I am a big fan of the way they incorporate seating, they incorporate angles, and the way the architecture matches the school. It really does well for a school that at first, for a while now, was an independent prior to joining this conference. City-wise, Liberty originally had a capacity of 12,000 from 1989 to 2009. It then underwent a 3-phase project to increase the capacity to an eventual 30,000, with the potential for 60,000 in the future. They first added a second deck to the home side and constructed a 5-story press box, which was completed in 2010, and then consisted of several different suites of luxury viewing as well. Liberty does a good job of positioning the seating they do have, and the fact that they have such a good base of being with them being an independent is very impressive. But also like to say that they have a very clear vision with what they can be doing here in the future, as we've already seen different remodels be released for the designs that they're creating. We're gonna have to give them a C- because it's a low amount of capacity and it's a lot of potential with not a whole lot of action done yet, but a lot of hope in the future here for Liberty. And for fan appeal, we are looking at one of the best fan appeals in the league, with Liberty coming up in a 20,000 patron minimum almost for the last 2 to 3 years here at all home games. There is a few anomalies here where we have 18, 16, and 19,000 in a few here games, but most of the time it's 20,000 plus here for this successful independent program, which is quite insane for a 25,000 capacity seat stadium, considering the conference that they're joining has a lower than 30% retention rating. These guys have 80% and above. So we're going to be giving these guys a B+, because clearly a lot of the different things as aforementioned before show when you do a well done stadium, you will see results such as Liberty has here. Modern amenities wise, this is where Liberty kind of falls short. They're going to have a lot of outdoor areas where you're going to be accessing a lot of these concessions and a lot of these things for sale. The entrance doesn't have a whole lot to offer, and they haven't updated a whole lot of the field basics. I would say looking at the stadium again is a big con here. It's a big reason why we're going to be giving them a C+. These guys do a lot of good things, but this is definitely not one of them. And then we're going to be seeing a lot of stuff in the future though, so it's not like they don't have options again. So there you have it, folks. Liberty Stadium coming in with a B for this conference, and very easily could have an A to A+ stadium as far as the 4 pillars here goes. When you really think about it, they just need to commit, and I think they were trying to get to a conference prior to doing so. So we will see what the next 5 years has in store for us. Now we're going to be going to Jacksonville, to the Burgess Snow Field at the JSU Stadium. Let's get into it. All right, architecturally, Jacksonville State University has a horseshoe full outdoor stadium with indoor facilities on the side with no seating or in the gap of the horseshoe. One of the unique things this stadium has is a 7-story stadium tower, which consists of the top 5 to 7 stories being suites and press boxes, while the bottom 4 floors are residence halls. I wonder what it's like living right next to the sports facilities. It's gotta be players, because I cannot imagine much else. Another highlight is the multiple different planters around the stadium area, creating greenery, but not so much shade, so it's mostly just modern for show look, used in the early 2000s. I like it. It sets out. You can definitely see from their remodel plans, their plan is to do something similar with that tower all the way around the stadium and the horseshoe, which is something I can definitely get behind. We're going to give these guys a B+, good amounts of creativity, a lot of open space, very 2000s era. That's my favorite era, so I can definitely get behind it. As far as capacity for JSU, this stadium started out being called the College Bowl in 1947, having a capacity of just 5,000 patrons until the year of 1965, when it was raised to 8,500. In 1978, a student section was added, bringing the running total up to 15,000, give or take, with standing room and such. And with the addition of the aforementioned stadium tower, they are now currently sitting at 24,000 students. It's nothing crazy. They definitely have a good amount of pull-down stadium seats in a small area, and the suites definitely bring it into the new era as well, but it leaves a little bit to be desired, so we're going to go with C rating here. As far as fan appeal, the stadium has inner bathrooms and concessions under the main seating, and the main seating is almost entirely bleachers, making suites and skyboxes the only crazy luxury in the place. This stadium is a bit more built to look presentable with its high, middle, and low sides, making you have the option to fill certain group sections on the stands to combat low attendance. But it's a very archaic architectural design for such, so it could use some work. JSU has experienced some attendance problems in the past. I would give these guys around a B+, because they're doing well with what they've got. As far as modern amenities, I'd like to see JSU make a step up as far as the artificial turf is considered. They have not had a makeover in a while. While it's still using the NFL-approved brand, and it needs to have some progress as opposed to its counterparts, because they're a little bit more modern, and you got to be thinking about the players in this day and age. JSU definitely looks presentable on the outside, but the scoreboard is your typical light-up scoreboard. It's difficult to view in some weird angles. I hope the suites have their own replay system, because looking across the stadium at that screen would be a bit of a stretch, I will say. So we're going to go ahead and give these folks a C-. And we're going to be giving Burgess Snowfield at JSU a B- overall. A very nice stadium for the conference. Very well done. It has a vision. Would like to see some more improved seating and landings and suites. And I think we have it in store in the future. So more to be seen soon. Now that we've covered our school in my new state, we're going to be backing it on back to my old state, to the Sun Bowl, located in El Paso, Texas, and built in 1963 for the University of Texas.
Architecturally, a team that takes the term bowl game seriously. With the site of their stadium, we have UTEP. This stadium is in the shape of a bowl, but the upper deck does not taper off seats like the Aggie Memorial Stadium we talked about earlier. This stadium is built into the side of a hill, being supported by a number of giant pillars on all sides, giving it a very lifted look that definitely appeals to my eye in particular. They definitely went for make the most available seats method with this design, making the box seats directly across from the screen, fairly far away from it, and the action on the field. The situation is kind of the same with those over on the home side as well. One thing's for sure is you certainly can pack this house, as the name of the game was we have surface area, so let's use it. It's the best use of space for what you gave yourself, so I give it a B. A little bit more foresight, this could have been a higher grade, but the distance and all that given, it's B. Capacity. UTEP Stadium is going to trump this category just straight up due to the overwhelming capacity numbers. But it did not get this perfectly, as obviously if the team has capacity numbers in the stands it did previous years, it will look very much so about 10% full, even when it is 50% full. The staggering amount of bleachers here is astounding to me, that an entire section is not pull-down stadium seating. I understand that the Texas Sun is a monster, but there has got to be a way to do this. atrocious. We're going to give them an A, but we're knocking them down from the A+ that it would have been a guarantee, because they need to start putting some resources into making this area more comfortable, because right now it is a desert of bleachers. For fan appeal, this is another stadium where the upper decks are left to the elements, or a treacherous walk down in the below area where there is shade. Also, finding friends will have to be done in the below decks, as the sea of bleachers barely has any landings or areas where people can gather. It is quite literally just stairs and bleachers with no end in sight. This team has about a 25% retention rating from opening day to the end of the season, telling me they're very heavily dependent on the program's success, and packing that stadium a little bit out of the question until they address some of these issues, in my opinion. So we're going to go ahead and give them a D. For modern amenities, we have amenities being added that I can get behind in recent upgrade of the turf with UTEP. 2014, they went to the field turf system. You can never upgrade that stuff enough when it comes to the longevity of your players, program, and stadium. With the size of the stadium, you'd like to see a few other screens, as well as probably some banners or something blending that stadium into field as well. It's just so big, it is very much like a concrete sea. There's plenty of escape from the sun and surface area to meet. But it doesn't make it ideal for big groups to navigate, such as Big Family Weekend or something, as you can get lost pretty easily. I'll give this a B.
And that gives us a B overall grade for UTEP. Moving on over eastward to the Joe Eilert Stadium for Louisiana Tech University. Let's get into it. This stadium is located in Ruston, Louisiana, and built in 1968.
Architecturally, Louisiana Tech is doing a classic stadium designed to the absolute maximum you can. And it's done just right, in my opinion here. Plenty of shaded and conditioned areas for the bougie crowd, with a good mix of bleacher and deluxe seat-up. Both sides of the bleachers are double-decked, with the home side having a very nice upgraded suite on top. They also incorporated some beautiful seating on the field house, and the glass opening to the facilities below really caps off the look. The stadium matches the colors on the field perfectly, and there's a standing open area in the corner, with even more suites and probably some facilities behind it. But they are integrated so sneakily that it really gives a packed house college look when they finish the most recently announced renovations. There will be even greater changes to this area as well, so I can only imagine what this is going to look like as far as the fan experience too. All integrated very well into the type of stadium this is done here, and as far as the color scheme too, I just can't get behind this more. Louisiana Tech has done a great job. We're going to be giving them an A+. Capacity. So Louisiana Tech has upgraded their stadium a handful of times dating back to its inception, mostly adding bleachers until the most recent addition of the fieldhouse upgrades, as well as the suites above the home side of the bleachers. This is a stadium that you can classically pan to the bottom layers of the stadium to utilize the corner angles to get crowd shots. This is definitely a technique you can use on low capacity days, but you're pretty subject to looking bare bones with a wide scale shot in any way, shape, or form with this style. Clearly Louisiana Tech wasn't planning on that. More on that next. We're going to be giving their capacity an A-. For fan appeal, this category is proving hard to justify a high rating with the factor of team performance indirectly influencing variables. But Louisiana Tech has recently undergone improving areas for students to interact with the football culture, and with recent renovations announced, adding 22,300 square foot student-athlete access center and a small crack corner on the side are partially conditioned. The only thing holding Louisiana Tech back is retention, though, so I do have to give them a C because they have barely 50% capacity retention throughout the year. I am not sure what's going on there. We really have to look into that because this is a well put together stadium.
With that being said, we are going to be having to give this a C rating for fan appeal due to the facts.
With modern amenities, the Louisiana Tech Stadium has not held on to money, it seems, when it comes to adapting their field with screens, and they plan to add 2 new ones in the corners, which will be fully ahead of their counterparts in any way, shape, or form. You still have all the fans looking at one screen, and we all know how that handicaps you if you ever plan on adding new seats. They're a bit behind in turf, but as far as everything else as the fan experience goes, it is state of the art, so I have to give them an A, as we love the updated turf system these days. A-. They're a bit behind in turf, but everything as far as the fan experience and views is state of the art, so I have to give them an A-, as we love an updated turf system, and we gotta knock you down a little bit, Louisiana Tech, for not putting a lot of that money back into the players.
And the overall grade for Joe Eilert Stadium is going to be an A- here, topping out Conference USA yet again. Well, thanks again, guys, for sticking around for a 30-minute video on Conference USA. Doing it because we really enjoy looking at breaking down different stadiums across different conferences and seeing the different major differences. Going to be going through yet again
all the ones in the United States, and then probably moving on and then some if we are still going in and trucking. I'm going to be leading the gradings of everybody up there at the end for everybody to see how everybody compared to everybody else as far as the conference is concerned, and in the future we'll have an overall breakdown. Thank you and peace.